Hey guys, tonight we are diving headfirst into a world of impossible beauty and even more impossible discipline. A world of silken shadows, where a single glance or the flick of a fan holds more meaning than 1,000 words. We're going to walk the path of an apprentice geisha in old Japan. And let me tell you, after you hear about the sleeping arrangements they endured, you'll hug your pillow with a newfound appreciation. You probably wouldn't have survived the first week of training, let alone the first night. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, let me know in the comments what city you're in and what time it is for you. I love seeing where everyone is tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. It all begins with a choice that isn't really yours. You're young, maybe 10, maybe a little older, old enough to understand loss, but too young to grasp the sheer scale of what you're about to lose. The journey to Kyoto is a blur of rattling cart wheels and unfamiliar countryside. The simple, rough-spun clothes you're wearing feel thin against the chill of the morning air, a stark contrast to the silken future promised to your parents. They promised you a life of art, of culture, a chance to become someone. You just nod, clutching a small, worn wooden doll your mother pressed into your hand before you left. It's the last piece of your old life you'll be allowed to keep. As the cart clatters onto the paved stones of the city, the world transforms. The air changes. It's thicker here, carrying the scent of charcoal fires, damp wood, and something else, a faint, sweet perfume mixed with the savory smell of street food. You're entering one of Kyoto's Hanamaki or flower towns. This is the district, a world unto itself, where geishas live and work. It's also known by the more poetic name, Keiyokai, the flower and willow world. A beautiful, elegant name for a place governed by some of the strictest rules imaginable. The willow represents grace and subtlety, while the flower represents beauty and you. You are the flower, waiting to be cultivated. You crane your neck, staring at the rows of two-story wooden buildings. Their facades are lattice of dark, weathered timber. Paper lanterns hang under the eaves, painted with symbols you don't understand. A woman with an impossibly elaborate hairstyle and a brilliant silk kimono glides past, her wooden sandals, called okeobio, making a distinctive clacking sound on the stone. She doesn't look at you. In her world, you don't exist yet. You're just another country girl, rough and unpolished, standing at the gates of a universe you can't possibly comprehend. This is where your journey truly begins, at the sliding door of a building that looks just like all the others. This is an Okiya, a geisha lodging house. It's not just a dormitory, it's your new home, your school, and your prison. It will be run by a woman you will come to call Oka-asen mother. She is not your mother. She is your proprietor, your teacher, your family, in exchange for a sum of money that would seem astronomical to them, has essentially signed over your girlhood. And here lies a point that historians still debate with surprising passion. Was this a cold, calculated sale of a child into a form of indentured servitude, or was it seen as a legitimate, even prestigious apprenticeship for many impoverished families? It was the only way to ensure a daughter wouldn't starve, giving her a path to a highly respected, artistic profession in a society with few options for women. Here's a little detail they don't often show in the movies: not every girl came from poverty. Some were from geisha lineages themselves, born into the Keiyo yokai for them. It was a choice made of desperation, but of tradition. They were expected to follow in their mother's footsteps. But for you, it's different. You're an outsider, the person who brought you here. A quiet, stern-faced woman knocks on the door. It slides open silently, revealing a dark, polished wooden entryway. A woman kneels just inside, her face a mask of polite inquiry. She is the one, the okays in her eyes, sharp and intelligent, scan you from head to toe. She isn't looking at the girl you are, but at the potential you hold. Can your features be molded into beauty? Is there a spark of resilience in your eyes? Are you strong enough to endure? She nods, a tiny, almost imperceptible movement. You're ushered inside. The heavy wooden door slides shut behind you. The sound isn't loud, but it echoes in the narrow hallway, a definitive, resounding thud that marks the absolute end of one life and the terrifying beginning of another. The air inside smells of old wood, tatami mats, and a hint of incense. It is the scent of your future. You've just stepped through the looking glass, and there is no way back. You are led deeper into the house. Your bare feet make no sound on the wooden floors polished to a dark, liquid sheen by years of diligence sweeping in the passage of countless stockinged feet. The corridor is a maze of sliding paper screens, some closed, some slightly ajar, offering tantalizing, fleeting glimpses of rooms with tatami mats and low tables. You can hear the faint, high-pitched giggle of other girls, quickly shushed. You feel their eyes on you, peeking through the cracks, sizing you up. You are the new arrival, the latest curiosity in this self-contained world. You are ushered into a small, quiet room at the back of the house. It is impeccably clean and stark. A single scroll with elegant calligraphy hangs in the recessed alcove. The tukono the oka asen is already there, kneeling on a silk cushion, a steaming ceramic teacup in her hands. She gestures for you to kneel on the bare tatami mat before her. You fold your legs awkwardly, the rough fabric of your clothes scratching your skin. The silence in the room is heavy, broken only by the gentle sound of her sipping her tea. She places the cup down with a soft click. "Do you know why you are here?" she asks. Her voice is not unkind, but it carries an authority that leaves no room for argument. You shake your head, your eyes fixed on the weave of the mat in front of you. "You are here to become an artist," she states simply. "A living work of art. This house will give you everything you need. Food, clothing, a roof over your head. We will pay for the finest teachers to instruct you in dance and music, in conversation. You will wear kimonos of the most beautiful silk. Everything you could ever need will be provided." It sounds wonderful, too wonderful. You look up, a flicker of hope in your eyes. Her face remains serene, unreadable. And you, in return, will pay it all back. This is the moment the silken cage snapped shut. This is where the main, undeniable fact of your new life is laid bare. You have just been placed into a system of indentured servitude. The okiya is, at its core, a business. The oka-asan is an investor, and you are her new, very long-term investment. Every single thing you receive, from the rice in your bowl to the silk threads of your future kimono, will be meticulously recorded in a ledger. A debt is being created, a debt so large it will take you years, perhaps a decade or more to repay. This is the central pillar of the kei or yokai economy. And here's a little tidbit you might find fascinatedly brutal in its thoroughness. This wasn't just a general vague debt. It was itemized. The cost of your dance lessons with Master Onoi. The price of the 3-string shamisen you will learn to play. The fee for the calligrapher who will teach you to paint poetry. Even the cost of the expensive white face powder you will one day wear it all written down. Every expense, big or small, is added to your name in a book kept under lock and key by the oka-asan. Congratulations. You are now the proud owner of a debt that would be impossible for you to even count. She slides a thick, bound book across the mat towards you. It's the ledger. She doesn't open it. She doesn't is enough. Your family has been compensated for your time, she says, her tone making it clear that the transaction is final. From this day forward, your duty is to the okiya. You will work hard, you will learn, you will obey. And one day when your debt is paid, you will be free. Free. The word hangs in the air, a distant, shimmering mirage, and this is where historians and sociologists still have heated debates. Was this contract a form of exploitation, a way of trapping young women in a cycle of debt they could rarely escape, or was it a functional, if harsh, form of professional sponsorship in an era with few paths for women? The okiya system provided a route to social standing, artistic renown, and, for the most successful, immense wealth and influence. It was a trade-off, your youth and freedom, in exchange for a chance at a protected, even celebrated, life. The ethics of it are murky, viewed through a modern lens. But in this room, for you, it is simply the unshakable truth. You don't sign anything. You don't need to. Your presence here is your signature. You give a small, jerky nod. What else can you do? The oka-asan seems satisfied. She claps her hands lightly, and an older girl slides the door open. Take her to the sleeping quarters, she commands. Her training begins tomorrow. You are led away, the ledger in the teacup left behind in the quiet room. You are shown a large, chilly room where other young girls, apprentices like you, are laying out their bedding on the floor. There is no bed frame, just a thin futon. One of the girls hands you one. It smells of straw and dust. As you unroll it, the small wooden doll falls from your tunic. You quickly snatch it up, hiding it in your sleeve. It feels warm in your palm, the solid, real thing in a world that has suddenly become terrifyingly abstract. It is the only thing that is truly yours. Everything else, from this moment on, is borrowed. The next morning, before the first hint of dawn has touched the paper screens, you are woken by a sharp clap. The world is a cold, grey blur. An older apprentice, who barely looks at you, hands you a simple cotton yukata to wear. It's clean but worn thin from countless washings. Your old country clothes are taken from you, bundled up and put away somewhere you'll never see again. With them goes the last tangible link to your past, except for the tiny wooden doll you've managed to hide in the sleeve of your new garment. You are brought back to the same quiet room as yesterday. The oak ace and is waiting. Beside her kneels another woman. She is breathtaking. She's not an apprentice, she's a full-fledged geisha. Her face is a perfect oval of white. Her lips are small, startling red. Her black hair is swept up in a complex, shining arrangement, and her kimono is a cascade of blue and silver silk. She is everything you are supposed to become. She is your one niece and your older sister. This is Kikutsuru, the Okai-san says. From now on, she will be your senior. You will learn from her, you will serve her, you will obey her. She is your guide. Then she turns to you. And you, from this day forward, you will be known as Kikumaru. And just like that, your name is gone. The name your parents gave you, the name you've answered to your entire life, is stripped away. It's a fundamental part of the process. Your old identity must be completely erased to make way for the new one. Your new name, Kikumaru, contains a part of your senior sister's name, Kiku, meaning chrysanthemum. This is a tradition that binds you to her and to the lineage of your Okiya. You are now a branch on this particular artistic family tree. The name isn't just a label, it's a brand. It signifies your belonging to this house, this style, this heritage. You bow deeply, your forehead touching the tatami mat. Yes, Oka-asen, you murmur, the new name feeling strange and foreign on your tongue. It tastes like someone else. This practice of taking a professional name, Age-imi, is common in many traditional Japanese arts, from sumo wrestling to kabuki acting. But in the geisha world, it's more profound. It's a psychological severing. Historians often debate the depth of this identity shift. Was it merely a stage name, a professional persona that could be put on and taken off like a kimono, or did the constant use of the ge-imi combined with the all-encompassing nature of the training fundamentally alter a young woman's sense of self? Many former geishas have written in their memoirs about the strange duality of their lives, feeling like two different people in one body, the private self and the public artist. Your new sister, Kikutsuru, looks at you. Her expression is not unkind, but it's distant. She is not here to be your friend. She is your mentor, and her reputation is now tied to your performance. If you fail, it reflects poorly on her. She is responsible for molding you, a rough piece of clay, into something exquisite. Come, Kikumaru, she says, her voice as smooth as the silk of her kimono. We have much to do. You spend the rest of the day in a flurry of activity, always one step behind your sister. You learn how to fold a kimono, not just any kimono, but her kimono, a garment so heavy and complex it takes you and another girl to handle it. You learn the precise way to prepare her tea, the exact temperature of the water, the specific number of whisks. You learn to walk silently, to anticipate her needs before she voices them. You are her shadow, her servant. This is the first stage of your apprenticeship, the shikomi phase. You are essentially a maid for the house and for your senior sister. Here's a small, often overlooked detail about this stage: it was a test of character. Yes, You were learning practical skills, but more importantly, the oka-ace and your one-ace and were watching your attitude. Were you diligent? Were you respectful? Did you complain? Did you learn quickly? A girl who was lazy or defiant in the shikomi stage was unlikely to have the discipline and fortitude to become a successful geisha. Many girls were sent home during this period. It was a crucible designed to weed out those who weren't cut out for the life ahead. In the evening, you help your sister prepare for her engagement. You watch in silent awe as she applies her makeup, transforming her face into the iconic mask of the geisha. You help her tie the intricate obi, the wide sash that is the centerpiece of her attire. When she is finally ready, she is no longer the woman you served tea to this morning. She is a creature of another world, an embodiment of art. She glides out of the okiya and into the twilight of the flower town, leaving you behind in the quiet, shadowed house. You stand at the doorway watching her go, the scent of her perfume lingering in the air. You are now Kikumaru. The girl you used to be is a ghost. You touch the little door hidden in your sleeve. It's a secret anchor to a self that is fading with every passing hour. The name is gone. The okiya is a world of women. It is a complex, hierarchical ecosystem where your survival depends on understanding your place. At the top is the oka-ace and the absolute ruler. Below her are the active, working geishas like your sister, Kikutsuru. They are the breadwinners, the stars of the house. Then there are the apprentices, the mako like you will one day become. And at the very bottom are the shikomi, the girls in training, like you are now. You are the lowest rung on a very tall ladder. Your days are filled with endless chores. You sweep the tatami mats, careful to follow the direction of the weave. You scrub the wooden floors until they gleam. You run errands in the narrow streets of the Hanamaki, Namik Stylist, the tea house where your sister entertains her clients. You are constantly busy, constantly observed. And it is here that you meet the other girls. They are your new sisters, not by blood but by circumstance. You sleep in the same large room, a row of futons on the floor. You eat your simple meals of rice, pickles, and miso soup together in the kitchen. There's Horu, a quiet girl from a fishing village, whose hands always seem to be chapped and dried. There's Fumiko, who is quick-witted and sharp-tongued, a city girl who already seems to understand the subtle power dynamics of the house, small and timid, who cries silently into her pillow at night when she thinks no one is listening. This sisterhood is both your greatest comfort and your most intense source of competition. You are all in this together, sharing the same fears and the same grueling routine. You whisper after lights out, sharing stories of your old homes, your dreams, your frustrations. A quiet bond forms in these stolen moments of camaraderie. You learn to rely on each other. If you spill tea on a client's kimono during your chores, it is another apprentice who will quickly help you clean it up before the oka-ace sees. If you are struggling to remember the name of a particular tea house, it is another girl who will whisper it to you. But the system is designed to pit you against each other. There are only so many opportunities. Not every shikomi will be chosen to advance to the next stage of Mako the oka-ace and is watching. Who is the quickest learner, who has the most natural grace, who shows the most promise? The geisha world is a meritocracy, but a brutal one. Your sister is not just your sister, she is your rival. The praise given to Fumiko for her quick memorization of client names is a silent criticism of your own slower progress. The chance Haru gets to accompany a senior geisha on a simple errand is a chance you did not get. This dynamic of cooperation and competition is a fascinating aspect of the okiya system. It created a powerful, self-policing community. The girls learned to work together to maintain the harmony of the house, because any disruption reflected badly on everyone. Yet, at the same time, they were constantly aware that they were being ranked and sorted. This is a point that sociologists who study closed communities from military barracks to convents find particularly interesting. How does a group maintain cohesion when individual success means outperforming your peers? The answer in the okiya seems to be a complex blend of shared identity and relentless pressure. Here's a curious detail about life in the okiya: the concept of personal privacy was virtually non-existent. You had no room of your own. Your belongings were minimal and kept in a shared chest. The paper screens that served as walls did little to muffle sound. Everyone knew everyone else's business. Who was praised, who was spotted, who was struggling. This lack of privacy was part of the training. It forced you to be constantly mindful of your behavior, to always present a composed and diligent face. There was no off-duty. You were always on stage, even within the supposed sanctuary of your own home. One evening, you are helping your sister Kikutsu dress. You fumble with the silk cord, your fingers clumsy and slow. She sighs a small, impatient sound. Fumiko, ever watchful, immediately steps forward. "Let me, One-san," she says, her movements quick and deft as she ties the cord perfectly. Kikutsuru nods in approval. "You learn fast, Fumiko." She doesn't say anything to you, but her silence is louder than any scolding. You retreat to the corner, your face burning with shame. In that moment, Fumiko is not your friend who shared her rice with you at lunch. She is your competitor, and she is winning. The Oka-san, who you didn't even realize was in the room, watches the entire exchange from the doorway, her face impassive. But you know she has made a note in her mental ledger. That night, you lie on your futon, the small wooden doll clutched in your hand. You can hear Kyo's quiet sobs from the other side of the room. You understand hurt airs better now. This is a world of immense beauty and crushing pressure. Your new sisters are your only allies in this strange, demanding world, but they are also the yardstick by which you will be measured and a constant reminder that you must strive harder, be better, or risk being left behind. Your training as a shikomi is about subservience and observation, but soon, the artistic education begins. It starts from the ground up literally. It starts with how you walk. You are given your first pair of obo. They are not the elegant, knackered sandals worn by senior geishas, but a simpler, unadorned wooden version. They are, however, shockingly high. They are essentially carved blocks of wood with the tall teeth underneath, held to your foot by a simple thong, and designed to force a very specific gait. The first time you try to walk in them, you feel like a newborn foal. You wobble precariously, your ankles threatening to buckle with every step. The other girls, also struggling, suppress giggles as you stumble across the polished wooden floors of the okiya. The goal is not to walk quickly, but to walk with a shuffling, gliding motion. The height of the obo prevents you from taking large, clumsy steps. It forces you into a short, graceful stride, making the hem of your kimono sway in a pleasing way, in a pleasing way, in a pleasing way. The sound they make, a distinctive koro clacking, is the signature sound of a mako in the streets of the Hanamoki. It announces your presence before you are even seen. This is a key principle of geisha training. Every single movement is considered and controlled. Nothing is accidental. The way you walk, the way you sit, the way you bow, it's all part of the performance. Your body is an instrument, and you are learning to play. You practice for hours, walking back and forth in the courtyard of the okiya. Your feet ache, and the thong chafes the skin between your toes until it's red and raw. But you persevere. You must. Because the obo are just the first layer of restriction. The next is the kimono. You are given your first proper lesson in how to wear the full apprentice attire. It's not just a dress, it's a complex architectural construction of silk, linen, and pads, all held together by an intricate system of cords and sashes. An older geisha, retired now but still living in the okiya and acting as a kind of wardrobe mistress, directs the process with an iron will. First comes the undergarments, layers of thin cotton and silk to protect the outer kimono from your skin. Then, the main robe, the nogajubi, which has a decorative collar that will peek out from the top layer. Finally, the magnificent outer kimono itself. It's incredibly heavy. You stagger under the weight, you are wrapped and padded, your natural shape completely obscured. The kimono is not designed to reveal the body, but to transform it into an elegant, conical silhouette. The most crucial part is the obi, the wide, brocaded sash. For a mako, the obi is particularly spectacular. It's called a dara-obi or dangling obi, and it can be over 6 meters long. It is folded and tied in a complex knot at your back with the two long ends hanging down, almost to your ankles. It is so heavy and stiff that it acts like a brace, forcing you to keep your back perfectly straight. Slouching is physically impossible. Breathing deeply becomes a conscious effort. Here's a quirky fact that illustrates the sheer physicality of this outfit. The knot of the DARIOB. I was so large and complex that an apprentice could not tie it herself. It required a professional dresser, often a Mano Takoshi, to come to the Okiya each day to dress the apprentices. The knot was a work of art in itself, and its proper tying was essential to the overall look. So now, you are wearing the heavy kimono, your torso constricted by the OBI and your feet perched precariously on the tall OBA. You are asked to walk. It feels impossible. Every movement is a struggle. You feel less like a budding artist and more like a beautifully packaged parcel, unable to move freely. This physical confinement is, of course, entirely the point. It strips away your natural, entirely the point, and thinking movements and forces you to learn a new, highly stylized physical vocabulary. It is a form of bodily re-education. And here's where a subtle debate among cultural historians lies. Was this extreme restriction purely for aesthetic purposes to create that iconic, gliding image, or did it also serve a psychological function? Some argue that by so thoroughly controlling the body, the training also controlled the mind, instilling a sense of discipline and self-restraint that was essential for a geisha's profession. When your every breath and step is a conscious act, it's difficult for your mind to wander. You are forced to be present, to be in control. You watch your sister, Kikutsuru, move with an effortless grace that seems superhuman. She navigates the narrow corridors of the Okiya in her full attire as if she were born in it. Her secret, you realize, is not strength, but surrender. She doesn't fight the restrictions of her clothing, she works within them. She has mastered the art of moving beautifully within her beautiful prison. As you shuffle awkwardly across the courtyard, your ankles screaming in protest, you have a flash of understanding. This isn't just about learning to walk. It's about learning to carry the immense weight of an entire tradition on your small shoulders, and to do it with a smile, making it look as light and effortless as a floating cherry blossom petal. The pain in your feet is your first real lesson in the art of illusion. Once you have a tentative grasp on how to move without falling over, your artistic education intensifies. You are introduced to the arts. You will be expected to master dance, and music. Primarily the shamisen. The dance lessons are graceful and flowing, but it is the shamisen that will become your first true trial by fire. The shamisen is a 3-stringed, long-necked instrument played with a large plectrum called a bocce. It is a distinctive, resonant sound that can be both lively and deeply melancholic. It is the quintessential sound of the geisha world, the soundtrack to the dramas and celebrations that unfold in the tea houses. To be a geisha is to be able to play the shamisen. There is no choice. Your first instrument is a practice model, simple and unadorned. Your teacher is a stern, elderly woman who has taught generations of geishas. She does not tolerate mistakes. She sits before you, demonstrating a simple scale. Her fingers, gnarled with age, move over the fretless neck with an impossible fluidity. Then it's your turn. You pick up the heavy bocce, which feels clumsy and oversized in your hand. You try to mimic her posture, holding the shamisen on your lap. You press a string down with a finger on your left hand and strike it with the bocce in your right. The sound that comes out is a dull, jarring thud. It's horrible. The teacher's lips thin in disapproval. Again, she says, and so it begins. Hours every single day are dedicated to this instrument. Your left fingertips, unaccustomed to the pressure, quickly become reed and tender. Soon blisters form. They burst, leaving raw, stinging skin. But you cannot stop. You are expected to practice through the pain. The teacher tells you that every geisha before you has gone through the same process. The pain is a rite of passage. This is where the physical reality of the training becomes undeniable. The ethereal image of a geisha gracefully plucking a shamisen completely hides the raw, physical toll it takes to get there. Your fingertips bleed. You might be given a small piece of leather to tie around your finger to lessen the pain, but you are still expected to practice. Eventually, over weeks and months of relentless repetition, the skin on your fingertips will harden. You will develop thick, permanent calluses. Only then can you play without pain. Only then can you start to focus on the subtleties of the music. Here's a small, fascinating detail about the shamisen itself. The body of the instrument was traditionally covered with cat or dog skin. The skin had to be stretched incredibly taut to produce the desired resonance. In fact, expert players could often tell the quality of an instrument just by looking at the specific pattern of the stretched skin. The idea that this beautiful, haunting music emerged from an instrument made of such materials adds another layer of contrast to the geisha's world. The mental challenge is just as great as the physical one. The shamisen has no frets, so you must learn the exact position for every note by muscle memory alone. A millimeter's difference in finger placement can turn a beautiful note into a sawan. You must learn dozens, eventually hundreds, of songs by heart, not just the melody, but the subtle nuances, the emotional weight of each piece. There are days you want to give up. You sit in the cold practice room, your fingers throbbing, the same frustrating passage of music defeating you over and over again. You see Fumiko in the corner, seeming to pick it up with infuriating ease. You hear Kyo, beside you, sniffling as she struggles just as much as you do. The teacher walks behind you and, without a word, raps your knuckles with a fan to correct your posture. It's not cruel, it's just impersonal, efficient correction. Historians who study pedagogy often look at this method of teaching. There was little positive reinforcement. Mastery was simply the expected outcome. It was a system built on discipline, repetition, and the endurance of discomfort. Was it an effective way to produce artists of a high caliber? The evidence suggests yes. The Geishas of Kyoto were, and are, renowned for their artistic skill. But what was the psychological cost? This is a question that lingers, and the answer likely varied with each individual student's resilience and temperament. One evening, after a particularly grueling day of practice, you are soaking yourself in a bowl of cool water. Your sister Keikutsoro comes into the room. She doesn't say anything at first, just watches you. Then she kneels beside you and takes your hand, examining your raw fingertips. "It hurts," she says. It's a statement, not a question. You nod, unable to speak, afraid you might cry. "Good," she says softly. "It means you are working. Soon, the skin will harden. The pain will go away, but the music will stay. Remember that." She gets up and leaves as silently as she came. It's the closest thing to encouragement you have received. Her words are not warm, but they are solid. They offer a distant promise this pain is temporary, but the art is permanent. You look down at your hands, at the blood and the emerging calluses. For the first time, you don't just see an injury, you see the price of a song. And you understand that you have no choice but to pay it. The trials of your waking hours are matched, and perhaps even surpassed, by the trial of your sleep. Just as you are starting to make peace with the aching of your feet and the soreness of your fingers, you are introduced to your new bedfellow, the takamakura. The word means tall pillow, but to call it a pillow is a generous overstatement. It is not soft, it is not comfortable. It is, in essence, a small, lacquered wooden box. Some were more elaborate, with a small padded cushion on top, but many were just a carved, hard block. It is designed not to cradle your head, but to support your neck. The purpose of this strange and frankly tortuous device is singular: to protect your hairstyle. Once you graduate from being a shikomi to a formal apprentice, a maker, you will wear one of several elaborate, traditional hairstyles. These are not wigs. This is your own hair, waxed, shaped, and decorated with a stunning array of combs and seasonal hairpins. The kanzashi, creating such a hairstyle, is an incredibly long and expensive process, done by a specialist hairdresser, and it is meant to last for days, sometimes up to a week. Therefore, you cannot simply sleep on it. You cannot toss and turn. You must learn to sleep perfectly still, balancing the base of your skull on the small, hard cradle of the takamakura, your head and precious hairstyle suspended in the air. The first night is misery. The oka ace and demonstrates, showing you how to position your neck on the block. It feels unnatural and precarious. You lie on your thin futon, the back of your neck screaming in protest against the hard wood. Every instinct tells you to roll over, to shift, to find a more comfortable position. But you can't. To ensure you learn quickly, the older geishas employ a rather ingenious, if cruel method. They pour a small circle of rice bran or white powder on the floor around the base of your takamakura. In your sleep, you roll off the block and your hair touches the floor. You will wake up with a white, powdery mess in your expensive hairdo. The shame of this, and the scolding you would receive from the okase, and not to mention the potential cost of having the style redone, is a powerful deterrent. You lie awake for hours, every muscle in your neck and shoulders clenched in a tense rebellion. The silence of the sleeping house is filled with the small, frustrated sighs of the other new apprentices, all sharing your plight. You can feel the blood pounding in your ears. Sleep, when it finally comes, is not a restful descent into darkness, but a series of shallow, anxious fits. You wake up constantly, startled, checking to make sure your head is still in place. This practice is one of the most vivid examples of the painful discipline required. It's a point of morbid fascination for many who learn about geisha training. Here's a little detail that makes it even more intense for some apprentices to add an extra layer of incentive. Small bells were attached to threads around the sleeping area. If you moved too much, you would set them off, waking not only yourself but everyone else in the room. Peer pressure in this case was a very effective training tool. The historical and anthropological perspective on the takamakura is fascinating. Was it purely a practical tool for preserving a hairstyle, or did it serve a deeper, more symbolic purpose? Some scholars argue that it was a constant, physical reminder of the geisha's life. Even in sleep, the most private and unconscious state, the geisha was not free. She was still bound by the demands of her profession, her body still an object of aesthetic discipline. It reinforces the idea that a geisha's artistry was not a 9-to-5 job, it was a 24-métier existence. There was no escape, not even in dreams. The debate continues on whether this was an accepted part of a holistic artistic life or a form of psychological conditioning that blurred the lines between self and profession to a damaging degree. The morning after your first night with the takamakura, feeling as though you haven't slept at all. Your neck is a knot of solid pain. Your shoulders ache. You look around and see the other girls in the same state, moving stiffly, their faces etched with exhaustion. Fumiko, for once, looks as miserable as you feel. Even she could not charm her way into a comfortable night's sleep. You check the floor around your pillow. With a surge of relief, you see the circle of rice powder is undisturbed. A small victory, but it feels monumental. You will sleep this way for years. Night after night, you will train your body to be still, to find a semblance of rest in a position of utter discomfort. Over time, miraculously, your body will adapt. The pain will lessen. You will learn the art of sleeping without moving. It will become second nature, but a part of you will always remember this initial agony, this nightly battle between your body's need for comfort and your profession's demand for perfection. Another secret hidden behind your serene, smiling mouth. The reason for the nightly torture of the takamakura becomes terrifyingly clear the first time you get your hair styled as a maiko. This is a momentous occasion, a key step in your transformation. You are taken to the komi and the traditional hairdresser. His studio is a small, quiet space that smells of camellia oil and hot wax. You sit on a small stool, and the long, arduous process begins. This is not a simple updo. This is structural engineering with human hair. Your own long black hair is the raw material. First, it's meticulously combed and treated with a special wax called bura to make it stiff and pliable. This wax is heavy and has a distinct, slightly sweet smell that will become a permanent part of your sensory world. Then, the stylist begins to shape, pull, and tie your hair into one of the traditional maiko hairstyles. Like the wear shinobi, this style, worn by new apprentices, is characterized by a bun split in the middle, revealing a flash of red silk fabric. It's symbolic, meant to be subtly alluring. The entire structure is built around a frame, with pads and cords hidden within the hair itself to create the desired volume and shape. The process can take hours. You must sit perfectly still, your neck aching under the constant pulling and twisting. When he is finally finished, you are allowed to look in the mirror. You barely recognize yourself. Your head feels incredibly heavy. The hairstyle is a massive, gleaming black sculpture, adorned with a dazzling array of silver and silk and Sashi the long dangling hairpins that are a trademark of the maker. It's breathtakingly beautiful. And it feels like a helmet. This hairstyle is now your responsibility. It cost a significant amount of money, another entry in your growing ledger of debt. You must protect it at all costs. Which brings us to the hygiene aspect. You will not wash your hair for a week. Let that sink in. A full 7 days of unwashed hair, laden with sticky wax and oil. It's an aspect of Mako life that is rarely romanticized for obvious reasons. The glamour of the finished product hides the uncomfortable reality. After a few days, your scalp will begin to itch, a maddening persistent itch that you cannot properly scratch without ruining the entire hairdo. You learn to use the tip of a hairpin or a special scratching stick to carefully, delicately relieve the itch without disturbing the style. This is one of those peculiar historical details that highlights the immense gap between appearance and reality. The Mako, a symbol of purity and delicate beauty, was walking around with an itchy, waxy, and frankly, unhygienic scalp. It was a trade-off. The aesthetic of the hairstyle was deemed more important than the comfort or cleanliness of the individual wearing it. Why not just use wigs? This is a common question, and it points to an interesting distinction. Full-fledged geishas, or geiko as they are called in Kyoto, do wear wigs called tsura. This is a sign of their seniority and professional status. It grants them a certain freedom. They can have their own hairstyle underneath and don't need to sleep on the takamakura, but for a Mako, using her own hair is a crucial part of the apprenticeship. It symbolizes her youth and authenticity. Made from her own hair is a visible sign of her commitment and the transitional stage she is in. It is a rite of passage. The academic world still picks apart the symbolism here. Some cultural anthropologists argue that the use of a Mako's own hair was a way of emphasizing her natural, budding beauty, a key part of her appeal. In contrast, the senior geisha's wig represents a more polished, perfected, and perhaps more artificial form of artistry. The transition from real hair to a wig marks the transition from a girl in training to a woman who is a master of her craft. The debate lies in how much of this was conscious symbolism versus simple tradition that lost its original meaning over time. You walk back to the okiya, your head held stiffly, acutely aware of the weight and the preciousness of your new hairstyle. Every gust of wind is a potential threat. You bow your head carefully when passing through doorways. That night, the takamakura feels different. It's no longer just a tool for training, it is an absolute necessity. You lie down, positioning your neck with painstaking care, the hardwood of the pillow a familiar torment. You try to find a comfortable position, the itch on your scalp already starting to make its presence known. You can smell the wax in your hair, a constant cloying scent. You are encased your body in the kimono, your neck on the wooden block, and now your hair itself in a stiff, waxy prison. You are becoming a living sculpture, piece by painful piece. And as you lie there, trying to ignore the itch, you realize that beauty, in this world, is not a feeling, it is a discipline, and you are in it for the long haul. With your hair now a permanent fixture and your walk a practiced, shuffling glide, the final piece of your physical transformation is put into place. The full, formal attire of a maker. You thought the practice kimono was heavy, you were mistaken. The real thing is a masterpiece of wearable art and an instrument of physical restraint. The dressing process is a ritual. It takes at least 2 people to get you ready. You stand, arms outstretched like a doll, as layers are wrapped, tied, and smoothed around you. The underrobes, the long-sleeved fur-sewed kimono distinctive to a Mako, and finally, the glorious 6-meter-long dara, R-I-O-B-I-R-I-O-B-I-R-I-O-B-I. The total weight of the ensemble, including the hair ornaments, can be up to 20 kilograms, about 44 pounds. Imagine strapping a small child to your body and then being expected to move with ethereal grace for an entire evening. The weight is immense, and it settles on your shoulders and hips. The obi tightly around your midsection acts like a corset, restricting your movement and your breathing. You have to learn to take shallow breaths, to speak without gasping for air. This magnificent garment is your cage. It is stunningly beautiful, a canvas of hand-painted silk and gold thread, depicting scenes from nature or classical literature, but it is also a prison. You can't run. You can't bend over easily. Even sitting down is a complex maneuver, requiring you to perch on the edge of a stool to avoid crushing the elaborate bow of your obi. This brings up a fascinating, and often debated, point among fashion historians and sociologists. The traditional kimono, especially the formal versions worn by geishas, is a perfect example of what is sometimes called restrictive fashion. Throughout history, many cultures have had clothing for their elite women that intentionally hampered movement. The academic argument is whether this was primarily about demonstrating status, that is. I am so wealthy and privileged that I dare or about enforcing a certain kind of prescribed femininity, that is, a proper woman is demure, controlled, and does not move in a vulgar, ungraceful way in the geisha's case. It seems to be a complex fusion of both. The kimono is a status symbol, but it is also a tool that forces the wearer into a state of heightened physical control and grace. And here's a quirky detail that emphasizes the sheer value and delicacy of these kimonos. They were often not owned by the geisha or even the okiya, they were rented from specialized kimono rental houses. This meant that any damage or spilled drink, a tear in the fabric, was a catastrophic financial disaster that would be added to your debt. This added a layer of constant, low-grade anxiety to your evenings. You weren't just wearing a beautiful dress, you were wearing a liability worth more than a farmer's entire annual income. Your first time wearing the full regalia for an actual outing is terrifying. You feel clumsy and oversized. Every step in your tall okobo is a risk. You follow your older sister Kikutsuru through the narrow, mountain-lit streets of the Hanamoki. She seems to float, a vision of silken serenity. You feel like a brightly colored boulder trying to roll smoothly. You learn to navigate the world in a new way. You turn your body sideways to pass people. You learn to gauge the width of doorways instinctively. You develop a new sense of your own physical boundaries, which now extend far beyond your skin to the trailing sleeves and dangling obi of your kimono. At the tea house, you are expected to kneel, to serve drinks, to interact with guests, all while encased in this sartorial armor. The simple act of pouring sake becomes a challenge of balance and precision. You can't just reach across the table, you must move your whole body in a controlled, elegant way. The kimono forces you to be deliberate. There are no casual gestures. Every movement is a performance, choreographed by the limitations of your own clothing. You spend the evening smiling, your face a mask of pleasantness, while your shoulders burn from the weight of the kimono and your stomach is cinched tight by the obi. You feel a trickle of sweat run down your back, but you cannot show any sign of discomfort. This is the job, to create an effortless illusion, to be a perfect, beautiful object for the appreciation of others while concealing the immense physical effort it requires. Later that night, back in the okiya, as you are being undressed, the release is overwhelming. As the obi is untightened, the heavy kimono is lifted from your shoulders. You can finally take a full, deep breath. The feeling of freedom is so intense it's almost dizzying. You stand there in your simple underrobe, feeling impossibly light. You look at the kimono, now being meticulously folded by an attendant. It lies on the floor, a pool of magnificent silk, impossibly beautiful. It is your greatest asset and your heaviest burden. You are beginning to understand the central paradox of your existence. Your value, your art, and your identity are all tied up in this beautiful cage of silk. Now that your body has been reshaped by your attire, your training moves to the finer points of expression. Your primary tools will not be your words, but your movements. Specifically, the movements of a fan. You begin your lessons in the traditional Japanese dance performed by geishas. Is not the energetic, expressive dance you might imagine. It is slow, deliberate, and deeply symbolic. It is storytelling through posture and gesture. And the central prop, the key to its language, is the folding fan, the sensu in your hands. This simple object must become a falling leaf, a rippling stream, a rising moon, or a shyly hidden smile. Your dance teacher is yet another formidable elder, a woman who moves with the weightless grace of a ghost. She shows you the basic postures, the precise angles for your head, your arms, your hands. The dance is performed in the confines of your kimono, so there are no large, sweeping motions. It's a dance of subtleties, performed from the knees down and the elbows out. The fan is an extension of your arm. You learn to snap it open with a flick of your wrist, a sharp, authoritative sound that can punctuate a musical phrase. You learn to close it just as smoothly, to let it flutter, to hold it as a shield, a tray, or a sword. Every single gesture has a name and a meaning. You practice for hours in a cold, tatami-matted room, mirroring the teacher's movements. The slow, sustained postures are surprisingly taxing. Holding your arm out at a specific angle for minutes at a time makes your muscles burn with a quiet fire. Your mind wanders, but the teacher's sharp voice, no, kikumaru, your fingers are not alive, pulls you back with a jolt. The essence of mai is restraint. It's about what you don't do as much as what you do. The goal is to evoke an emotion or a scene with the most minimal of movements. A slight tilt of the head can suggest sorrow, a quick turn of the fan can indicate a change of heart. It is the ultimate test of control. This brings us to a core principle of Japanese aesthetics known as eugen. It's a notoriously difficult concept to translate, but it refers to a profound, mysterious grace, a beauty that is suggested rather than stated outright. It's the feeling you get when watching the moon partially obscured by a cloud. The dance of the geisha is a physical embodiment of eugen. The performance is not meant to be a literal story, but to create an atmosphere, an emotional resonance that the audience feels rather than understands intellectually. Here's a curious tidbit about the fans themselves. They were often works of art in their own right, painted with beautiful designs or even poetry. But they were also a secret communication device. The way a geisha held her fan, whether it was open or closed, where she placed it when she sat down, all these could be subtle signals to other geishas in the room. It could be a signal of boredom, a warning about a difficult client, or a request for a refill of sake. It was a silent, coded language, completely invisible to the uninitiated guests. The academic debate around mai often centers on its origins and purpose. Is it a purely artistic performance, a high art form preserved in the bubble of the kei or yokai, or does it have older, more ritualistic roots, perhaps connected to ancient Shinto shrine dances? Historians trace its lineage back through various court and theatrical dances, but the specific form practiced by geishas is unique. The argument is whether its primary function was aesthetic entertainment, or a more subtle form of social and emotional regulation within the tea house setting, a calming, graceful spectacle to smooth over social interactions. One afternoon you are practicing a particularly difficult sequence, one that represents a woman waiting for her lover by a river. Your movements feel stiff and meaningless. You are just copying the teacher, not feeling the story. The teacher stops you. "What are you thinking about, Kikumaru?" she asks, her voice devoid of emotion. "I am thinking about the river," you reply dutifully. "No," she says, tapping your shoulder with her own fan. "You are thinking about your feet. You are thinking about the fan. The river must be inside you. The fan is not a fan. It is the water. Feel it." She performs the sequence again, and this time you see it. When she flutters the fan, you can almost feel a cool breeze. When she traces a line on the floor with it, you can almost see the water's edge. She is not just dancing, she is conjuring. You pick up your fan and try again. You close your eyes for a second, forgetting your aching muscles, forgetting the critical eyes of the teacher. You think of the small stream behind your old home. You remember the way the water moved over the smooth stones. You are learning that the fan is not just an object in your hand. It is a conduit. The goal is not just to master the movements, but to pour your own spirit into them, to make a piece of painted paper and bamboo come alive. It is yet another layer of illusion, the most profound one yet. You are not just a performer, you are becoming a magician. With your body and movements now sculpted by your training, it is time to address your face. It is time to learn how to put on the mask. The iconic white makeup of the geisha is not just cosmetic, it is a profound act of transformation, a ritual that separates the private woman from the public artist. Your older sister, Kikutsuru, is your teacher in this intimate art. You watch her, night after night, as she prepares for her engagements. Now, she guides you through the process on your own face. The first step is applying a thick, waxy substance called bintiesuk, Iabira, the same wax used for your hair to your face and neck. This acts as a primer, helping the white foundation adhere to the skin. Then comes the foundation itself. It's a white paste that historically was made with lead. This is a chilling detail. For centuries, geishas were unknowingly poisoning themselves in the name of beauty. The lead-based makeup gave a coveted, luminous finish, but it also caused severe skin problems, internal damage, and a host of other health issues. By the time of your training, safer, rice powder-based formulas are more common. But the legacy of the lead makeup is a stark reminder of the physical sacrifices made by generations of women before you. Kikutsaru shows you how to mix the powder with water to form a paste. You apply it with a wide, flat brush called a hake. You paint your face, your neck, and your chest, covering every inch of exposed skin. The feeling is strange. It's cold and wet at first. Then it dries into a tight, powdery mask. It feels heavy, like a layer of plaster. Your own features, your freckles, the small scar on your chin from a childhood, while they all disappear beneath the uniform, impenetrable white. The most iconic part of the application is leaving the small patch of skin unpainted at the nape of the neck. This area, called the eye as high, is traditionally left bare. In a culture where the rest of the body is completely covered, this small, vulnerable patch of unpainted skin was considered intensely alluring, unsensual. It's a focal point, a deliberate flaw in the perfection of the mask that draws the eye. Once the white base is dry, the details are painted on. Your eyebrows, which were shaved or plucked into a thin line, are drawn back in with charcoal or black pigment, placed higher on your forehead to create an expression of serene detachment. A touch of reed is applied around your eyes, a subtle detail that makes the white of your face appear even whiter. The lips are the final dramatic touch. You do not paint your entire lips. Using a small brush called a benihake, you paint only a small portion of your lower lip, or a delicate bow shape on both lips, creating the illusion of a tiny, flower bud mouth. For a first-year maker like you, only the lower lip is painted reed, a sign of your junior status. This practice of painting a smaller mouth is a classic example of creating an aesthetic ideal that is separate from natural reality. The entire process is slow and meditative. It can take over an hour. As you stare into the mirror, watching your own face disappear and be replaced by this stylized, inhuman beauty, a strange sense of dissociation washes over you. The face looking back at you is not yours. It is calm, perfect, and unreadable. The tired, anxious girl underneath is your secret. This is where the psychological aspect of the geisha's life becomes incredibly potent. The white mask is a literal and metaphorical barrier. It hides your true emotions. Are you tired? Are you sad? Are you bored? No one can tell. Your face is a serene canvas, projecting only the pleasant, artistic image required of you. This is a crucial professional skill. Your job is to create a relaxing, enjoyable atmosphere for your clients, not to burden them with your own feelings. Historians and psychologists still debate the long-term effects of this. Did this constant masking lead to a kind of emotional numbness or a fractured sense of self, or was it a powerful coping mechanism, a way to protect one's inner world from the pressures of the profession? Many former geishas have described it as a kind of armor. Once the makeup was on, they were no longer themselves, they were the geisha. This persona had its own rules, its own strength. You finish applying the makeup. Kikutsuru inspects your work, making a tiny correction to the corner of your eye with her little finger. She nods. You are ready. You look in the mirror one last time. The faces are strangers, but the eyes are yours. They look out from behind the white mask, holding all the secrets, all the exhaustion, all the fear. You are learning the most important lesson of all: how to be two people at once. The girl who feels, and the artist who performs, and the line between them is painted on, one careful brushstroke at a time. Your transformation is not just physical, it is also linguistic. To truly belong to the flower and willow world, you must learn to speak its language. You might think you already speak Japanese, but you will soon learn that the dialect of the Kyoto Hanamoki is a world unto itself. It's called the Kyokotoba, a highly specific and elegant dialect of Kyoto, further refined within the geisha districts. It is softer, more indirect, and filled with unique vocabulary and grammatical structures that are unintelligible to outsiders. Learning it is not optional, it is essential. It is a social marker, a shibboleth that instantly identifies you as part of the inner circle and separates you from the clients you entertain. Your lessons in Kyokotoba are constant and informal, absorbed through daily life. In Nyokiya, you learn by listening to your Wani-san and the other senior geishas. You are corrected mercilessly for any slip of the tongue. The standard arigato gozaimasu for thank you very much becomes a softer, more melodic okay. I need the standard centered sentence ending particle desu is replaced with the much gentler dusu. A simple yes is not a, but a ye. These may seem like small changes, but they fundamentally alter the rhythm and feel of the language. The overall effect is one of extreme politeness, humility, and a certain musicality. It's a language designed to be pleasing to the ear, to be non-confrontational, and to create a sense of refined, old-world elegance. This linguistic training serves several purposes. Firstly, it enhances the geisha's artistic persona. The beautiful, archaic-sounding dialect complements the traditional kimono, the ancient music, and the slow, graceful movements. It completes the illusion of stepping back in time. Secondly, it is a tool of social cohesion and exclusion. When the geishas speak to each other in Kyokoto, they are reinforcing their shared identity. Hearing this special dialect adds to the exoticity and exclusivity of the experience. He is being allowed a glimpse into a secret world, but the language constantly reminds him that he is, and always will be, an outsider. Here's a curious, specific example of Kyokotoba vocabulary. A police officer is not called by the standard term kis. At Sakan in the Hanamoki he is referred to as a gyo. The origins of many of these slang words are lost to time, passed down through generations of geishas. Learning this unique lexicon is like being initiated into a secret society. The academic debate around this is fascinating for sociolinguists. Is the Kyokotoba of the geisha districts a true dialect, or is it more accurately described as a sociolect, or even an argot, a specialized language used by a particular social group? The consensus leans towards sociolect, as its primary function is to define the identity of the group that uses it. It's a classic example of how language can be used to construct and maintain social boundaries. The debate continues on how much of the dialect is an authentic preservation of older Kyoto speech versus a conscious, curated performance of tradition for commercial purposes. You struggle with it at first. Your country accent is thick, and the new words feel clumsy in your mouth. You listen intently during meals, during chores, trying to mimic the lilting cadences of the senior geishas. Fumiko, being a city girl, picks it up much faster, her speech already flowing with a natural-sounding dusu. It's another area where you feel you are falling behind. One afternoon, you are serving tea to the Oka Ace and she asks you a simple question, and you reply with the standard Japanese you grew up with. She sets her cup down with a sharp click. "Kikumoru," she says, her voice dangerously quiet. "You are not a potato farmer anymore. You are an apprentice in a Kyoto okiya. We do not speak like that here." Your face flushes with shame. You take a breath and rephrase your answer, forcing the soft dusu ending. It sounds fake and practiced to your own ears. The okay-san just nods, her eyes telling you it is still not good enough. This constant correction is exhausting. It feels like every natural part of you, your walk, your posture, your name, and now your very speech is being systematically dismantled and replaced. You have to think before you speak every single word, translating from your native way of speaking into this new, formal language. But slowly, painstakingly, it starts to become more natural. You find yourself using "oh okay, I need" without thinking. The soft dusu starts to feel less like a costume and more like a part of you. You are not just learning a dialect, you are internalizing a new way of being. A way that is softer, more graceful, more pleasing, and less direct. You are learning the language of the willow, a language that bends without breaking, that suggests without stating, that creates beauty and mystique through its very sound. It's another layer of a mask, but this one is invisible. It's a mask you wear on your tongue. As you delve deeper into the aesthetics of the geisha world, you learn not only about current practices but also about traditions that have faded into the past. One of the most striking of these is the custom of oeguro, or teeth blackening. Your older sister Kikutsuru might mention it one evening as she removes her makeup. She might point to her own perfectly white teeth and say with a small ironic smile, "Be glad you don't have to do this, little sister. It was not as pleasant as it looked." She tells you about it. For centuries in Japan, up until the Meiji era in the late 19th century, black teeth were considered a mark of supreme beauty and sophistication. It was practiced by aristocratic women, married women, and of course, geishas. The stark white of the face makeup was seen as making the natural yellow of teeth look unattractive. The solution to dye them a deep glossy black. A row of black, lacquered teeth, glimpsed when a woman smiled, was considered elegant and alluring. The process was far from glamorous. The dye was a foul-tasting concoction. The main ingredient was a dark brown solution of ferric acetate, made by dissolving iron filings in vinegar. To this, various vegetable tannins from spices like cinnamon or gall nuts were added. This mixture was painted onto the teeth every few days to maintain the rich black color. It was a permanent commitment once you started. You had to keep it up, or your teeth would be left with a stained, uneven appearance. This is a startling concept to you, a complete reversal of modern dental aesthetics. It's a powerful lesson in the relativity of beauty. What is considered beautiful is not a universal truth, it is a cultural agreement, a fashion that can change dramatically over time. The idea of intentionally making your teeth black seems bizarre, yet for generations of geishas, it was as essential to their look as the white foundation. The practice of oegoro provides a fascinating case study for anthropologists and historians. Why black? The reasons are complex and still debated. One theory is purely aesthetic. The black teeth created a striking contrast with the white face, and when smiling, it created an illusion where the mouth appeared to be a dark, mysterious void, drawing more attention to the red painted lips. It was a visual trick that enhanced the mask-like quality of the geisha's face. Another theory suggests it had practical health benefits. While it sounds counterintuitive, the lacquer actually helped to protect the teeth from decay by sealing them. Historians have noted that skeletons from periods when oegoro was common often show remarkably good dental health. So, it may have been a strange, early form of sealant. A further layer of debate among scholars centers on its social significance. For geishas, oegoro was often adopted when they became full-fledged geiko after the coming-of-age ceremony known as erika, the turning of the collar. In this context, it signified maturity and status. It was a visible sign that they were no longer a young apprentice. However, because it was also practiced by married women in general society, it sometimes led to confusion, blurring the lines between the geisha and the wife, which was not always a desirable association in the flower and willow world. You try to imagine it. You look at your own reflection in the dark, polished wood of a cabinet. You smile, and then you try to picture your teeth as black voids. The image is unsettling. It would change your entire face, making your smile something entirely different, not a bright flash of warmth, but something more enigmatic and stylized. Here's a small, weirdly specific detail about the process. The smell of the iron vinegar solution was notoriously unpleasant. To make the daily ritual more bearable, women would add spices and fragrant herbs to the mixture. The quest for beauty involved not just a strange visual transformation, but also a battle against noxious odors. Learning about oegoro is a pivotal moment in your education. It disconnects the concept of beauty from your own innate assumptions. You realize that the standards you are so painfully striving to meet, the white face, the red lips, the elaborate hair, are not absolute. They are just the current fashion of this particular, peculiar world. They are as arbitrary, in their own way, as the black teeth of your predecessors. This knowledge gives you a strange sense of perspective. The rules that govern your life, which feel so oppressive and unchangeable, are actually fluid. They have changed before, and they will change again. The realization doesn't make your training any less grueling. Your neck still aches from the takamakura and your fingers are still calloused from the shamisen, but it plants a small seed of critical thought. You are not just a passive recipient of tradition. You are now a conscious participant in it. Aware that you are embodying a set of ideals that are as constructed and temporary as they are beautiful. You are a living link in a long, strange chain of evolving art and painful discipline. All the training, the walking, the talking, the music, the makeup is in preparation for one thing, the ozei shiki. This is the banquet or party, where you will be expected to entertain guests. It is the stage on which you will perform your art. Your first few times attending an ozei shiki will be as a silent observer, accompanying your wanis and kikutsuru. Your job is to watch, learn and be invisible. You follow her into the tea house, or ochair. These are not public establishments. They are exclusive, discreet venues where business is conducted on trust and reputation. You cannot simply walk in, you must be an established client, introduced by another. The proprietors of the tea house, another powerful woman in this world, greets you at the door. She is a key gatekeeper of the Hanamokihao. You are led into a private room with tatami mats, a low table, and a beautifully arranged flower in the alcove. The guests are already there, a group of powerful-looking men, perhaps politicians or wealthy industrialists. They are the patrons, the lifeblood of the geisha economy. Your job, and the job of your sister, is to make these men feel clever, relaxed, and important. You kneel silently in a corner of the room, trying to make yourself as small as possible. From this vantage point, you watch Kikutsuru work her magic. It is a masterclass in social grace. She greets the guests with a perfect bow, her kyokoto flowing like music. She laughs at their jokes, but not too loudly. She listens intently to their stories, her expression one of deep fascination. You watch her perform the practical tasks with an artlessness that conceals immense skill. She pours the sake, never letting a guest's cup become empty, but never being pushy. She holds the small ceramic cup, the ochoko, with two hands, and just wants to light his cigarette. Her hand is already there with a match, seemingly out of nowhere. These are not the actions of a servant, they are the gestures of a perfect hostess, anticipating every need before it is voiced. This is the core of a geisha's conversational art. It's not about being the center of attention. It's about making the guest the center of his own universe. A successful geisha is a brilliant conversationalist, well-versed in current events, politics, and art, but her greatest skill is in drawing out her guests, making them feel like the most witty and interesting people in the world. It is an art form based on supreme emotional intelligence and observation. He is a fascinating, and often misunderstood, part of the job. Geishas are also masters of party games. Called as a shikiasobi, these are not childish games, they require quick wit, rhythm, and a good sense of humor. One famous game is Tort or a tiger, a full-body version of rock, paper, scissors, where participants, separated by a screen, emerge acting as a tiger, an old woman who beats the tiger, or a samurai who beats the old woman. The games are designed to break the ice, create a fun and relaxed atmosphere, and showcase the geisha's playful side. The role of these games is a subject of some academic discussion. Were they just frivolous entertainment, or did they serve a more strategic social function? Some sociologists argue that these games were a clever way to level the playing field. In the rigid, hierarchical world of Japanese business and politics, the tea house was a neutral space. A playful game could temporarily erase the status differences between a junior executive and a company president, fostering a sense of camaraderie that was invaluable for business relationships. The geisha, as the facilitator of this game, was a crucial social lubricant. From your corner you watch in awe. Kikutsuru engages in a witty banter with a powerful businessman, then seamlessly transitions to playing a complex drinking game with another guest, all while keeping an eye on everyone's glasses and the overall mood of the room. She is a conductor orchestrating the entire social symphony of the evening. You realize that the music and dance are only a small part of what a geisha does. The true art is the seamless management of social dynamics, the creation of a perfect, fleeting moment of pleasure and escape for her clients. It requires immense concentration, a sharp memory for names and preferences, and an unshakable poise. You have to learn who the important clients are, what their business is, who their rivals are. You must never mention one client to another. Discretion is the absolute, unbreakable rule of the Yokai. The tea house is a sanctuary where secrets are safe. A geisha who gossips will find her career over in an instant. As the evening winds down, Kikutsuru plays a soft, melancholic song on her shamisen. The mood in the room shifts from boisterous fun to quiet appreciation. She has guided the emotional arc of the entire evening. Walking back to the okiya in the cool night air, you are silent, processing everything you've seen. It's a daunting performance to have to one day emulate. It's not just about learning the parts, it's about understanding the whole complex machine of human interaction and learning how to be its most graceful, essential gear. After months, perhaps a year of grueling training and silent observation, the day finally arrives. It is the day of your official debut, your mise dashi. This is your public introduction to the hanamoki as a new Mako. It is a hugely important and expensive ceremony, a formal announcement that a new flower is ready to bloom. The day is a whirlwind of ritual and preparation. The okiya is buzzing with activity. You are dressed in the most formal and magnificent attire you have ever worn. It is a special black kimono, emblazoned with the crest or moan of your okiyo at the shoulders and back. Your obi is perfectly styled in the wear shinobu fashion, and your face is a flawless mask of white makeup, with only your lower lip painted red to signify your debutante status. You are a walking, breathing symbol of your geisha house's investment and pride. A key part of the mise dashi ceremony involves a ritual exchange of sake cups, called sankudo, literally 3-9 times. This is the same ritual performed at traditional Japanese weddings. In this context, it symbolizes the bond you are forming with your older sister, the other geishas of your house, and the okiya itself. You are formally becoming a member of the family. You share cups of sake with your one Isan Kikotsuru. She is now not just your mentor, she is your ritual sister. Her fate is tied to yours and yours to hers. You also share cups with the Oka Ace, and this act symbolically binds you to the house in a way that is deeper and more culturally resonant than any financial contract. Historians often point to the adoption of wedding rituals like sankudo as a fascinating element of the geisha world. Why use a marriage ceremony for a professional debut? The debate is ongoing. Some argue it was a way to create a powerful, fictive kinship network. In a world where you were separated from your birth family, the okiya became your new family, and these rituals solidified those bonds. Others suggest it was a clever way to add a layer of solemnity and legitimacy to the geisha profession, framing it within the respected traditions of mainstream society. It was a way of saying, this is not just a job, it is a lifetime commitment, as serious as a marriage. After the private rituals in the okiya, the public part begins. You and Kikutsuru, now acting as your official sponsor, will walk a formal circuit around the hanamoki. You must visit the key establishments, the other okiya, the important tea houses, the hairdressers, the kimono makers to pay your respects and announce your debut. As you step out of the okiya and into the street, you feel a tremor of fear and excitement. This is your coming out party. You walk with the practiced, shuffling gait you have spent so long perfecting. Kikutsuru walks beside you, guiding you. At each stop, she presents you. This is our new sister Kaikumaru. Please grant her your favor. You bow deeply, your head lowered, your magnificent hair ornaments tinkling softly. You offer a small, beautifully printed card with your new name on it. In return, the proprietors of the establishments offer their congratulations and often a small, symbolic gift. You are being officially entered into the social and economic network of the flower town. Everyone is watching. The old women who sit in their doorways, the other geishas passing by, the shopkeepers, they are all assessing you. Does she have grace? Does she look nervous? Does she have the makings of a great geisha? The pressure is immense. Here's a small, charming detail of the mise dashi tradition for your debut. You wear a special, high-heeled obo with small bells inside. With every step you take, you create a trail of soft, tinkling sounds. This, combined with your dangling tanzashi and long obi, creates an unforgettable audio-visual spectacle. You are an announcement to the senses. The circuit takes hours. Your feet ache, your shoulders burn from the weight of the kimono, and your face is frozen in a polite, serene expression. But you cannot falter. You are on display. By the end of the day, you have been formally accepted by the community. You are no longer a nameless shikomi scrubbing floors. You are Mako Kikumaru of the Kikukawa Okiya. You have an official identity, a place in this intricate world. That evening, you will attend your first as a shiki. As a participating Mako, you won't say much. You will sit, pour sake and smile, Your primary role is to be beautiful and new, a fresh face for the clients to admire. Your sister will do most of the talking, guiding you, protecting you. When a client asks your name, you will answer in the soft kyokotobo you have practiced so relentlessly. Watakushi keiku maru dusu. The debut is a threshold. You have crossed from the world of training into the world of practice. Your debt is now larger than ever, swollen by the enormous cost of the Mized Ashi ceremony and your new wardrobe. But for the first time, you are in a position to start earning. Your journey is far from over in many ways. It has just begun. But as you sit in the tea house, the sounds of laughter and shamisen music swirling around you, you feel a flicker of something new, a sense of belonging. You have a name, you have a place, and you have a purpose. You are a flower, and you have just begun to open. Your debut might be behind you, but the real test begins now, inside the tea houses. The Ocha is the heart of the Hanamoki, the exclusive stage where your career will be made or broken. Stepping into one as a participating Mako is entirely different from being a silent observer in the corner. You are now part of the entertainment, and you must navigate the complex, unwritten rules of the space. The first rule of the tea house is discretion. What happens in Miyaze Shiki, the client's powerful men of business and politics, use the tea house as a neutral ground to build relationships, make deals, and relax away from the public eye. Your absolute silence about their conversations and dealings is the bedrock of your profession. A reputation for trustworthiness is a geisha's most valuable asset. When you enter a room, your one-isan will guide you. You learn to read the room in an instant. Who is the host, who is the guest of honor, what is the general mood? You must be a social chameleon, able to adapt to a boisterous celebration one moment and a quiet, serious business dinner the next. Your job as a junior Mako is to be decorative and attentive. You kneel near the guests, making sure their say cups are never empty. You learn the art of the subtle glance. You might not be part of the main conversation, but you must look engaged. Your quiet presence adds to the atmosphere. The tea house is run by an Oka ace and a different mother from the one at your Okiya, a formidable woman, who is the ultimate gatekeeper. She decides which clients are admitted and which geishas are called to entertain. Her favor is crucial. A tea house proprietors can champion a new maker she feels as promise, ensuring she gets booked for the best parties. Conversely, if she disapproves of you, she can effectively freeze you out. You must treat her with the utmost respect. Here's where we get into a fascinatingly subtle aspect of the tea house economy. No money ever changes hands. At the end of a long, expensive evening of food, drink, and entertainment, the client simply leaves. There is no bill. The tea house proprietors keeps a running tab for each of her trusted clients, and the bill is settled later, perhaps once a month. The fees for the geishas are included in this bill. This system, known as Ocheya Asobi or tea house play, operates entirely on credit and trust. It adds to the atmosphere of being in a private club, far removed from the vulgarity of commercial transactions. This no-cash system is a point of great interest for economic historians. It's a pre-modern, relationship-based economic model surviving in the heart of a capitalist society. The debate is whether this system was designed to maintain an aura of exclusivity and non-commercial artistry, or if it was a practical method of ensuring payment in a world where the services provided were intangible, creating a high-trust bubble where patrons paid handsomely for an experience that felt priceless. You also learn to read the silent language of the tea house. Often placed a certain way by your older sister might be a signal for you to create a distraction, or to quietly exit the room. The way the tea house proprietors arranges the seating can indicate the status of the guests. It's a world of nuance, where the most important things are often left unsaid. One evening you are at an Shiki with a particularly boisterous client. He's had a bit too much to drink and becomes overly familiar, trying to touch your hair ornaments. Before you have time to react, your one-isan Chikutsuru smoothly intervenes. She starts a playful drinking game, her movements quick and charming, instantly diverting the client's attention. She defuses the situation with such grace that the client doesn't even realize he's been managed, and the harmony of the evening is restored. You watch, humbled and amazed. You realize that a geisha must be a diplomat and a bodyguard as much as an artist. She must protect herself, her sisters, and the integrity of the atmosphere, all while maintaining a smiling, serene facade. It's a high-wire act performed over a net of complex social expectations. You begin to understand that the tea house is not just a room. It is a microcosm of the world, with its own power structures, its own language, and its own unforgiving rules. Your survival and success here depend not just on how well you can listen, but on how well you can listen, how quickly you can navigate the subtle, shifting currents of human desire and ego. It is the most difficult and most important classroom you will ever enter. As you become a familiar face in the tea houses, you start to grasp the invisible, ever-present force that governs everything in your life, the debt. You are an artist, a performer, a social grace, but from the ukiyo's perspective, you are a walking, talking investment, and it's time to start seeing a return. Every evening you work, you generate an income. This is traditionally measured in units of time, marked by the burning of an incense stick. A client pays for your time, and this fee is your flower money hanedai. However, this money does not go to you. It goes directly to the ukiyo. The okasan at your geisha house keeps the meticulous ledger we talked about before. Your earnings are recorded on one side of the book, and all your expenses are recorded on the other, and the expenses are staggering. Let's break it down. First, there's the cost of your sponsorship. The initial sum paid to your family is the first entry. Then the cost of your debut, the mizdashi, which is a huge expense covering the formal kimono, the party, and the gifts. Then the ongoing cost, your dance lessons, your music lessons, your dialect coaching. The fees for these master teachers are not trivial. And then there is the wardrobe. This is by far the biggest expense. The silk kimonos a maker wears are works of art, often hand-painted and embroidered. A single kimono can cost more than a car, and you need a different one for each season, for different levels of formality. The exquisite obi sashes, the delicate hair ornaments, kanzashi that change every month, the expensive white makeup, the high obi sandals, it's all added to your bill. You are draped in a fortune, and none of it is yours. This system of debt is the central economic engine of the ka, or yokai. It ensures that an apprentice is bound to her ukiyo for years. Only when her earnings have surpassed the colossal sum of her expenses is she considered paid off. At that point, she becomes an independent geisha and can start earning for herself, though she will still pay a portion to the ukiyo for lodging and support. This is a point of significant controversy and debate, especially when viewed through a modern lens. Was this system a fair apprenticeship model, or a form of exploitation? Economists and historians, who have studied it, present both sides. The argument for fairness is that the ukiyo took on an enormous financial risk. Many girls who started the training never finished. Some lacked the talent, others the fortitude. For every successful geisha, there might have been several failed investments. The ukiyo absorbed these losses. The high debt placed on successful apprentices was a way to cover the costs of the entire system. The argument against it, of course, is that it created a situation of profound power imbalance. A young woman was trapped, with little to no control over her own finances. Her freedom was a distant, almost mythical goal that the okasan had the power to grant or withhold by controlling the ledger. Here's a quirky, but telling, detail. A geisha's success was often measured by how many kimonos she had. But since she didn't technically own them until her debt was paid, what she really had was a collection of beautiful liabilities. A popular geisha was a very expensive geisha, and thus a very indebted one. You start to feel the weight of this invisible ledger in your daily life. You are acutely aware that the beautiful silk kimono on your back is not a gift, but a loan. When a client requests you for an evening, you feel a flicker of relief, not just because you are in demand, but because you know your earnings for that night will be a small chip against a mountain of debt. You see the difference between yourself and your one-isan kikutsuru. She is a senior geisha. She has likely paid off her debt or is close to it. She has a different kind of confidence. The kimonos she wears, she may own. The choices she makes about which engagements to accept are more her own. She is a businesswoman. You are still, in financial terms, a piece of property belonging to the house. This understanding changes your perspective. The flower and willow world is not just a realm of art and beauty. It is a ruthless, high-stakes business. The product being sold is an experience, an illusion of timeless grace and feminine perfection. And you are the product. Your body, your skills, your time, they are all assets being leveraged. It's a sobering realization. It strips away the last vestiges of romanticism and leaves you with a cold, hard truth. To survive, and to one day be free, you must not only be a great artist. You must be a profitable one. Your worth is measured not just in the beauty of your dance, but in the cold, hard numbers written in a book you are not allowed to see. Amidst the constant pressure to perform and earn, there is one part of your training that seems to exist on a different plane entirely. This is your instruction in Seido, the way of tea, commonly known as the Japanese tea ceremony. Unlike your dance or music lessons, which are skills to be performed for an audience, the tea ceremony is primarily an internal discipline. It is a form of moving meditation, a practice in mindfulness disguised as the simple act of preparing and serving a bowl of tea. Your teacher is not a geisha, but a tea master from one of the great tea schools. The lessons take place in a small rustic tea house, a space of profound simplicity and tranquility. The room is bare except for a hanging scroll and a single flower arrangement. The starkness is intentional. It is meant to clear the mind of distractions. You learn that the tea ceremony is not about quenching thirst. It is about the process. Every single element is precisely choreographed and imbued with meaning. The way you enter the room, the way you handle the utensils, the way you whisk the powdered green tea matcha, the way you present the bowl to the guest. It is all part of a seamless, flowing ritual. The movements are slow, deliberate, and stripped of all unnecessary flourish. You practice them for hours. At first, it feels tedious and frustrating. Your mind, accustomed to the fast-paced, high-pressure world of the Ozae rebels against the slowness. But the teacher is patient. Do not think, she tells you. She turns into the water. Be present to the water. Be present in this one moment. This is the core of the tea ceremony. It's an embodiment of the Zen Buddhist concept of one time, one meeting Ichigo. Ichi, it means that every single tea gathering is a unique event that can never be replicated. Therefore, you must give it your complete and total attention. The four guiding principles of the way of tea harmony were respect K, I purity AI and tranquility J K. You are not just rules for making tea, they are principles for living. The academic debate often revolves around how this idealized, spiritual practice coexisted with the very commercial and worldly life of a geisha. Was it a genuine spiritual practice for them? Or was it just another refined skill to be learned, another art form to be added to their repertoire to impress high-class clients? For many geishas it was likely both. Being skilled in the tea ceremony was a mark of high culture and refinement, which was good for business. But for you, in the quiet of the tea room, something else begins to happen. As you practice the slow, repetitive motions over and over, your racing mind begins to quiet down. You focus on the sound of the water being ladled from the kettle. You focus on the earthy smell of the matcha powder. You focus on the feeling of the rough ceramic bowl in your hands. For a few precious moments, you are not Mako Kikumoru, the indebted apprentice. You are just a person sitting in a quiet room, making a bowl of tea. It is a form of active meditation. It teaches you to find stillness in motion, to find beauty in the simplest of things. It is a mental and spiritual anchor in the chaotic sea of your life. It doesn't pay your debt or make the takamakura any more comfortable. But it gives you a tool. It gives you a small, quiet space inside yourself where you can retreat, a place of calm that no client or scolding okay-san can touch. You begin to understand that the tea ceremony is not about the tea itself. It is about the process. It is a training in mindfulness that you can carry with you outside the tea room. It helps you maintain your composure during a difficult ozae. It helps you focus during a long dance practice. It is the art of calming your own soul, and it may be the most valuable lesson you will ever learn. As you grow more accustomed to the life of a Mako, you learn one of the most fundamental and demanding rules of your profession. You must maintain the illusion of perfection at all times. A geisha is a living work of art, And art does not get tired, hungry, or flustered. Your human needs and frailties must be completely hidden from the public, and especially from clients. This means you are never, ever seen to be off-duty when outside the okiya. When you walk through the streets of the Hanamaki in your full regalia, you are on stage. You cannot show any sign of fatigue, even if you've had only a few hours of painful sleep on your takamakura and have been on your feet for hours in heavy clothing. Your public face must be one of serene grace. The most strictly enforced part of this rule concerns eating. A client must never see a geisha eat. The act of eating is considered ungraceful and anti-human. It shatters the illusion of the ethereal, doll-like creature you are supposed to be. At a banquet, while the guests feast on elaborate courses, you and your geisha sisters will not touch a bite of food. You may take a symbolic sip of soup if offered, but that is all. This leads to a rather peculiar logistical challenge. You often work for hours during the dinner period. So when do you eat? The answer is before you go out, or after you get back, often very late at night. You will have a quick, simple meal in the kitchen of the okiya before the long process of makeup and dressing begins. Or you will return to the okiya near midnight, exhausted and starving, to eat leftovers while your sisters are doing the same. Unglamorous part of the job that is essential for survival. This rule is a powerful symbol of the geisha's professional discipline and her separation from the ordinary world. It reinforces her status as a creature of art, not of appetite. Here's a little known detail that underscores this. Even the way a geisha drank was carefully managed. When drinking sake with a client, she would always use her own small ochoko cup. This was not only for hygiene but also to control her consumption. And more importantly, she would often hold her other hand up, shielding her mouth as she drank, a gesture of demureness that prevented the client from seeing directly into her mouth. The psychological impact of this constant performance is a subject of much discussion among sociologists who study this world. How does it feel to be constantly curating your own image? Does it lead to a feeling of empowerment, of being in control of your own persona, or does it lead to a profound sense of alienation from your own body and its basic needs? The answer, as with so much in the geisha world, is complex and likely varied for each individual. It was a professional armor that they could put on and take off. For others, the line between the performance and the self became dangerously blurred. This is not a new concept, of course. The debate about the separation of public and private selves is a cornerstone of performance theory, from actors on a stage to politicians on a campaign trail. But for a geisha, living within the immersive, all-encompassing world of the Hanamaki, the stage was her entire life outside the walls of the okiya. One evening, you are at a particularly long shiki. The food looks and smells delicious. Your stomach is rumbling a quiet, insistent complaint. You haven't eaten for hours. You catch the eye of your wani-san Chikutsuru across the room. She gives you a tiny, almost imperceptible shake of her head. It's a silent reminder: endure. Smile. You take a small sip of your tea, straighten your back, and focus your attention on the client telling a long story, burying it under layers of training and professionalism. Later that night, back in the quiet kitchen of the okiya, you finally eat a bowl of cold rice and pickles. It tastes like the most delicious meal you have ever had. Another apprentice, who was at a different party, is sitting across from you, doing the same. You exchange a look of shared understanding. No words are needed. This is the hidden life of the geisha. A life of secret hunger, of controlled exhaustion, of carefully concealed humanity. You are learning that your job is not just to perform the arts you have learned, but to perform the art of being flawless. It is the most demanding and loneliest performance of all. You are selling an illusion, and the first person who has to believe in it, or at least pretend to, is you. Your identity as a maiko is written not just on your face and in your movements, but also in the details of your attire. The most poetic and public expression of this is your kanzashi, the long, elaborate hairpins that adorn your hairstyle. These are not just decorative accessories, they are a calendar, a way of wearing the season on your head. Every single month has its own specific kanzashi motif, and you must wear the correct one. To wear the wrong month's hairpin would be a sign of ignorance, a serious faux pas in a world that prides itself on attention to detail. This tradition connects you, a creature of the highly artificial flower and willow world, back to the natural rhythms of the year. Your Wani-sanche Kutsuro teaches you the calendar of flowers. In January at the new year, your kanzashi will feature pine, bamboo, and plum blossom, symbols of longevity and good fortune. You might also see cranes or spinning tops. In February, you wear plum blossoms, a symbol of early spring, and sometimes butterflies. March is for yellow rapeseed flowers, nonohana, and delicate narcissus. April is the most famous month, the month of the cherry blossom sakura. Your hair will be filled with cascades of pink and silver sakura flowers, a celebration of their beautiful, fleeting existence. In May, it's purple wisteria and irises. June, the rainy season, is represented by the green leaves of the willow, a symbol of the geisha world itself, sometimes with a pink carnation for contrast. July brings kanzashi with dragonfly or fan motifs, suggesting the heat of summer. August is for morning glories or pampas grass suzuki. September features the Japanese bellflower kikyo, its deep purple, a classic symbol of autumn. October is the month of the chrysanthemum kiku, a flower that is part of your own name Kikumaru, and the crest of the imperial family. November is for the autumnal splendor of maple leaves. Your hairpins will be a riot of red, orange, and gold. And in December, you wear special ornaments called maneki, which are small, unpainted wooden tags from the local kabuki theater, signed by your favorite actors. It's a sign of the bustling preparations for the new year. This monthly rotation is a beautiful, subtle art form. It's a conversation starter with knowledgeable clients who will admire your seasonal taste. It is also another significant expense added to your debt. A full set of Meiko kanzashi for the year is incredibly costly, often handmade by specialized artisans. Here's a particularly charming detail for new Meiko like you. For your first year, your kanzashi will have long, dangling strips of silver or colored paper flowers that fall beside your face. This style is called baira. The way they shimmer and tinkle when you move your head is a visible, undeniable sign of your youth and inexperience. As you become more senior, the dangles will become smaller and less prominent until you finally graduate to the more subdued style of a full geisha. The academic world looks at this tradition through the lens of material culture. The kanzashi are not just objects, they are carriers of cultural meaning. They represent a deep connection to the seasonal, nature-based aesthetics of Shinto and Japanese poetry. The debate often lies in how this natural symbolism functions in the highly unnatural and constructed world of the geisha. Is it a genuine expression of a connection to nature, or is it a packaged version of nature? Another element of the artistic product designed to appeal to a client's sense of tradition and refinement. The answer is likely a bit of both. You come to love your kanzashi, they are heavy, and they catch in doorways if you're not careful, but they are also your personal link to the passing of time. In a life that is so rigidly structured and repetitive, the changing of the monthly hairpin is a welcome milestone. It marks your progress. When you put in your first cherry blossom kanzashi, you know you have survived your first spring as a maker. When you swap it for the maple leaves, you realize a whole year is drawing to a close. One afternoon, the Oka Ace presents you with your new kanzashi for the upcoming month. You hold the delicate, handcrafted maple leaves in your palm. They are a work of art, tiny and perfect. You know they represent another large sum added to your ledger, another link in the chain of your debt. But as you look at them, you also feel a sense of pride. They are a part of your identity. They are the language you wear, a silent, beautiful poem that tells everyone who you are, where you are, and what time of year it is. You are a part of the landscape of the Hanamaki, and the seasons now turn not just in the sky, but also in your hair. After several years as a make-o, typically around 5, you will face the most significant transition of your career. If you have proven yourself to be a skilled artist, a popular entertainer, and a diligent member of the Okiya, you will be deemed ready for your arike, the turning of the collar ceremony. This is your graduation. It marks your transformation from an apprentice Meiko into a full-fledged Geisha Geiko. The name of the ceremony is literal. As a Meiko, the collar of your underkimono, the nogaje you be in, has been predominantly red, a collar associated with childhood and youth. It's often intricately embroidered. During the arike ceremony, This red collar is ceremonial switched for a pure white one. This simple change in color is profoundly symbolic. White signifies maturity, professionalism, and elegance. You are no longer a girl in training. You are a woman and a master of your arts. The Araka-e is a major event, second only to your debut in importance. It involves a series of rituals and formal visits around the Hanamoki, much like your Mizudashi but with a different tone. Your debut was about announcing a new arrival. Your Araka-e is about announcing a promotion. You are presenting yourself to the community in your new, more subdued, and sophisticated persona. The changes are numerous and significant. Your hairstyle, which for years has been your own hair torture sliced and maintained, is now cut. You will begin wearing the sleek, elegant wigs katsura of a geiko. This is a huge practical relief. No more sleeping on the takamakura, no more recalled waxy hair. This freedom is one of the most eagerly anticipated perks of graduation. Your makeup changes too. The heavy white foundation is still used for very formal occasions, but for many engagements, you can now wear more natural makeup. The charmingly and expert-looking painted lips of the maiko are replaced with a full, perfectly drawn reed lip. You are no longer a bud, you are a flower in full bloom. Your attire becomes more subdued. The long, dangling obi is replaced with a shorter, more standard knot tied at the back. The long flowing sleeves of your fur-sewed kimono are swapped for the shorter sleeves of a mature woman. You will no longer wear the high, clacking obi sandals but a lower, more practical style of footwear called zori. All these changes signal a shift from youthful flamboyance to adult sophistication. This transition is a subject of great interest to anthropologists studying rites of passage. The Araka-e is a classic example of status transformation ritual. Every symbolic element, the color of the collar, the style of the hair, the length of the sleeves, is a visible marker of your new social standing. The debate among scholars often focuses on the economic and social implications of this transition. Is the Araka-e a moment of liberation, or is it simply a transition into a different, albeit more prestigious, form of servitude? On one hand, becoming a geiko brings immense freedom. You are a senior. You have more autonomy over your schedule. If your debt is paid off, you are financially independent. You can even choose to move out of the okiya and live in your own apartment, though you would still be affiliated with the house. You can become a mentor, and one is and to a new maiko yourself. On the other hand, the pressure changes. As a maiko, your youth and cuteness were a large part of your appeal. As a geiko, you are expected to be a consummate artist and a brilliant conversationalist. Your appeal must now rest on your skill, wit, and experience, not just your youthful charm. Here's a small, poignant detail about the Araka-e ceremony: the last time you get your own hair styled in the final maiko fashion. Known as S-ako, there is a tradition of symbolically cutting a few strands of your top knot. This act, performed by the oka ace and other important figures in your life, signifies the end of your girlhood. It's a moment of both celebration and nostalgia. The day of your Araka-e arrives. You go through the rituals in a daze of emotion. You see the pride in Kikotsuru's eyes. She has successfully guided her little sister to this point. You feel the weight of the oka ace and expectations on your shoulders. You have proven her investment in you was a wise one. You look at yourself in the mirror. The face is familiar but different. The white collar frames your neck, looking stark and elegant. Your wig is sleek and perfect. You look older, more self-possessed. The playful, tinkling girl is gone. In her place is a woman. That evening you enter a tea house as a geiko for the first time. The way the clients and the tea house staff treat you is different. There is a new level of respect in their eyes. You are no longer the apprentice. You are the master. The journey has been impossibly long and hard, but as you pick up your shamisen to play, you realize you are finally, truly a geisha. The collar has been turned, and with it, a new chapter of your life has begun. You are now Geiko Kikumaru, a name that carries weight in the tea houses of the Hanamoki. The takamakura is a memory. Your own hair is cut to a manageable length under your elegant wigs, and your evenings are filled with the respect due to a senior artist. And now a new role awaits you. The occasion of your okiyo brings a young girl to you. She is small, nervous, her eyes wide with a familiar mix of fear and wonder. She is a new shikomi, a fresh arrival from the countryside, and she is to be your little sister. Suddenly, you are on the other side of the equation. You are the one ace and the cycle has come full circle. This young girl will be given a name that echoes yours, perhaps Kikuyu or Kikuno. She will serve you, learn from you, and look up to you. Your success will now, in part, be measured by her success. This transition from mentee to mentor is a crucial part of the geisha life cycle. It ensures the continuity of the traditions. The skills, the etiquette, the secret language of the fan, all of it is passed down not through textbooks, but through this intimate, one-on-one relationship. You are now a living vessel of the Kar Yokai's culture, and it is your duty to pour that knowledge into the next generation. You watch the young girl struggle with the same things you did. You see her fumbling with folding a heavy kimono. You hear her pained, clumsy notes from the practice room as she begins her first shamisen lessons. You see the exhaustion in her face after her first night trying to sleep on the takamakura, and you feel a complex mixture of emotions: pity, nostalgia, and a certain stern impatience. You find yourself repeating the same words of advice and correction that Keikutsuru once gave you. No, little sister, hold the fan higher. Your fingers are not alive. Be quiet when you walk. A geisha does not make a sound. Do not let the client see you are tired. You hear your former mentor's voice coming out of your own mouth, and you understand her in a way you never could as a terrified apprentice. You realize her sternness was not cruelty, it was a necessary tool to forge the discipline required to survive. This system of apprenticeship is a classic model, studied by sociologists. It's learning by doing, by immersion. The debate here is about its efficacy versus its psychological toll. On one hand, it's incredibly effective at transmitting complex, embodied knowledge skills that are learned in the muscles and nerves, not just in the brain. On the other hand, it perpetuates a cycle of immense pressure and sometimes harsh discipline. Does the system simply replicate the trauma of the training from one generation to the next, or does it build a unique form of resilience and a powerful bond of shared experience? Here's a small, humanizing detail of this relationship. While the one Isan was responsible for the training and discipline, a strong bond of genuine affection often formed. Your little sister becomes your shadow, your confidant. You might share late night snacks with her in the kitchen, quietly reassuring her after a difficult day. You might give her a small, pretty comb for her hair, a tiny kindness in a world of strict rules. You protect her parties, guiding her away from difficult clients and showcasing her budding talents to kind ones. You are now her role model. She watches your every move, trying to emulate your grace. It forces you to be more mindful of your own conduct. You cannot be lazy or sloppy because a pair of young eyes is always watching you, learning from your example. It solidifies your own identity as a geiko. One evening, you are getting ready for an engagement, and your new little sister is helping you with your obi. Her fingers are still clumsy, but she is trying hard. She looks at you, her face a mixture of awe and adoration. One day, one is and she whispers, "I want to be just like you." The words hit you with an unexpected force. You look at her, and you see yourself from years ago, standing in the exact same spot, looking up at Kaikutsuru with the same expression. You see the long, painful, beautiful road that lies ahead for this girl. You know the calluses she will get on her fingers, the ache in her neck from the wooden pillow, the sting of shame from a public scolding. You know the immense pressure and the tiny, brilliant moments of triumph. You just nod, offering her a small, serene smile that has taken you years to perfect. "Work hard, little sister," you say, your voice gentle but firm. In that moment, you fully grasp your place in the endless, repeating chain of the flower and willow world. You are no longer just a performer. You are a guardian of the tradition. The survival of this entire, fragile, beautiful world rests on your shoulders, and on the shoulders of the small, hopeful girl kneeling at your feet. You are now an established geiko or respected artist in your hanamoki, but the world outside the latticed wooden walls of your district is changing, and those changes are beginning to seep in. The flower and willow world, which for centuries felt like a bubble sealed off from time, is now facing the relentless pressures of modernity. The post-war economic boom in Japan brought new forms of entertainment. Businessmen who once would have conducted their affairs exclusively in the quiet, refined atmosphere of a tea house, now have the options hostess bars, nightclubs, golf courses. The traditional arts you have spent your entire life mastering are suddenly competing with karaoke machines and Western pop music. The number of women wanting to become geishas is dwindling. In a modern Japan with expanding opportunities for women in education in a wide range of professions, the idea of signing a contract of indentured servitude to enter a closed, intensely demanding world is no longer an attractive or necessary option for most young girls. The okiya houses are finding it harder and harder to recruit new apprentices. The sprawling sisterhood you grew up in is shrinking. You see the changes everywhere. Some tea houses, struggling to attract the old guard clientele, have closed their doors. Others, in a controversial move, have started to cater to tourists, offering geisha makeover experiences or dinner shows that present a simplified, more accessible version of your art. To you, a purist, this feels like a cheapening of a sacred tradition. But you also understand the economic reality that forces these compromises. This tension between tradition and modernity is the central theme of the geisha world in the late 21st centuries. It's a classic sociological case study of a traditional institution struggling for relevance in a rapidly changing society. The ongoing debate is a fierce one. In order to survive, how much can the geisha world adapt without losing its soul? If you change too much, are you still a geisha, or have you become something else entirely, a historical reenactor? A tourist attraction? If you don't change at all, do you risk becoming an irrelevant, fossilized relic? You and your sisters discuss it in hushed tones in the safety of the okiya. The older geishas, who remember the post-war glory days, lament the decline in standards and the lack of appreciation from younger clients. The younger geiko, like you, are more pragmatic, wondering how to navigate this new landscape. Here's a small but significant example of this change: the internet. Historically, a geisha's reputation was built on word of mouth in a closed, exclusive circle. Now, some geishas and dokiya have websites. Some even have carefully curated social media presences. This is a radical break from the traditional code of discretion and mystique. It's a concession to the modern need for visibility, but it's one that many traditionalists find deeply uncomfortable. You see, the new apprentices, the few that still arrive, are different. They are often older when they start, perhaps in their late teens, or even early 20s. They haven't been sold into this life by their parents, they have chosen it themselves, often out of a romantic or intellectual fascination with the tradition. They have a different kind of motivation, but perhaps less of the ingrained, absolute discipline that was forged into you from childhood. They might question the necessity of the takamakura or complain more openly about the grueling schedule. You find yourself feeling both sympathy for them and a sense of generational disconnect. One evening, you are at an shiki with a group of young tech entrepreneurs. They are wealthy, but they lack the cultural knowledge of the older generation of clients. They ask you to sing a pop song on your shamisen. They talk loudly on their mobile phones. They don't understand the subtle language of your dance or the seasonal meaning of your kanzashi, seasonal meaning of your kanzashi. You do your job. You smile, you pour the sake, you maintain the illusion of a perfect evening. But inside you feel a sense of profound dissonance. The art you have dedicated your life to, the art that cost you your childhood, is being treated as a quaint, historical novelty. You are living through a historical turning point. You are the guardian of a fading flame. You have to decide, day by day, how to tend to it. Do you shield it from the winds of change, hoping to preserve its pure, traditional form, even if it means the flame might eventually flicker and die out in its isolation? Or do you carry it out into the storm, allowing the winds to change its shape, hoping that it will adapt and continue to burn in a new, different way? There is no easy answer. You stand at the crossroads of history, a living embodiment of the clash between a beautiful, demanding past and an uncertain, relentless future. The world you were raised to master is slowly vanishing, and you must find a way to be an artist within its beautiful, crumbling ruins. In this changing world, You find yourself confronting the most persistent and hurtful shadow that has followed your profession for centuries, the misunderstanding that a geisha is a prostitute. It's a crude, inaccurate comparison that has been fueled by Western fiction, wartime propaganda, and a fundamental misunderstanding of your role. Now, with the hanamaki becoming more visible to the outside world, you must face this misconception more directly than ever before. Let's be unequivocal, as this is the most crucial historical point to clarify. A geisha is not, and has never been, a prostitute. The very definition of a geisha literally, art person, is an artist and an entertainer. Her job is to entertain with conversation, music, and dance. Her services are artistic, not sexual. The tea houses are for entertainment, not for illicit encounters. The confusion arises from several historical and cultural factors. During the Edo period, the geisha profession emerged within the same Persia quarters, or yukaku, where licensed courtesans also worked. The two professions coexisted in the same geographical space, but they were distinct with different licenses, different attire, and different licenses. In fact, there were strict laws designed to keep them separate. For example, geishas were often legally forbidden from wearing overly ostentatious kimono or hairpins that might compete with the high-ranking courtesans. Their role was to provide artistic entertainment at parties, while the courtesan's role was explicitly sexual. The greatest source of the Western misconception comes from the post-World War II period. During the American occupation of Japan, many impoverished women, desperate to survive, dressed in kimono-like robes and marketed themselves to foreign soldiers as geisha girls, or, more colloquially, geisha girls. These women were not trained geishas. They had no connection to the legitimate okiya or tea houses. But for the thousands of foreign soldiers who encountered them, these geisha girls became their only frame of reference. They took this inaccurate image back home with them, and it cemented itself in the Western imagination through novels and movies. This historical context is a subject of intense academic study, particularly in post-colonial and gender studies. The debate is not about whether geishas are prostitutes. The consensus among legitimate scholars is a firm no. The debate is about how and why this specific misinterpretation became so powerful and persistent. It touches on themes of cultural appropriation, the exoticization of Asian women, and the complex interplay between military occupation and local economies. For you, a woman who has endured years of grueling artistic training, the comparison is deeply insulting. It negates your entire life's work. It reduces your mastery of the shapes and your elegant dance, your sharp wit, and your profound cultural knowledge to a crude commercial transaction that has nothing to do with your reality. You learn to handle the insinuation with the same grace and control you apply to every other aspect of your life. You may be at a party with a foreign client, or even a clueless Japanese one, who makes a suggestive remark or asks an inappropriate question. You do not get angry. You do not cause a scene. That would be unprofessional. Instead, you might use the subtle tools you have mastered. You might deflect with a witty, non-committal answer. You might artfully change the subject, or you might offer a brief, elegant explanation, as if instructing a child in basic etiquette. In our world, you might say with a serene smile, we sell art, not our bodies. It is a different kind of skill. The gentle rebuke, delivered with perfect poise, is often more effective than an angry denial. Here's a small but telling detail: the relationship between a geisha can become very deep and long-lasting, but it is not inherently romantic or physical. A wealthy patron, a dana, might become a geisha's official sponsor. He would cover many of her substantial expenses, effectively freeing her from her debt to the okiya and giving her a great deal of financial security. This was a serious, long-term commitment, almost like a common-law marriage, and it was based on companionship, mutual respect, and a shared appreciation for the arts. While these relationships could sometimes become intimate, it was not a requirement or an expectation. The primary role of the dana was one of patronage, akin to a wealthy European aristocrat sponsoring a court musician or a painter. You carry this truth with you every night. You know your worth. You know the years of pain and discipline that went into forging you. You are a guardian of a unique and beautiful culture. The ignorance of the outside world is just another challenge to be managed, another discordant note in the symphony of your life that you must gracefully play through. You stand as a quiet, powerful testament against the lie, your very existence a refutation of the most damaging myth of all. The years pass like the turning of your seasonal kanzashi. You have been a shikomi, a mako, a giko, and one Isan. You have navigated the treacherous waters of the tea houses, weathered the storms of a changing world, and stood as a graceful bulwark against misunderstanding. You have paid your debts, both financial and emotional. You are a master of your world. One quiet afternoon, you sit before a mirror in your own small apartment, away from the bustling okiya. You are preparing for an evening engagement, but you take a moment to pause. You are not wearing your makeup yet. Your hair is your own. You look at the face staring back at you from the glass. It is a face that has seen a great deal. There are fine lines around your eyes, souvenirs of thousands of smiles, both genuine and practiced. Your hands, resting in your lap, are elegant and poised, but if you look closely, you can still see the faint, hardened skin on your fingertips, a permanent ghost of the caluses from your first shames and lessons. You look into your own eyes, and you ask yourself a question that has been lingering in the quiet corners of your mind for years. Who are you? Are you Kikumaru, the artist, the persona you have so painstakingly constructed over a lifetime, the woman who can command a room with the flick of a fan, who can soothe a powerful man's ego with a few well-chosen words, whose every movement is a study in calculated grace? Or are you still, somewhere deep inside, that little girl from the countryside, the one who arrived in Kyoto clutching a small wooden doll, her heart filled with a nameless fear? The one who cried silently from the pain of the takamakura, who felt the sting of shame when she fumbled a task? What happened to her? Did she disappear completely, paved over by the relentless process of becoming a geisha, or is she still there, the silent observer behind Kikumaru's eyes? This is the ultimate unanswerable question of your life. It's a debate that goes on not in academic journals, but in the quiet of your own soul. The process of becoming a geisha is one of profound identity transformation. It requires the systematic dismantling of the natural self and the construction of a highly artistic one. Was this a destruction of the self, or a creation of a new, more refined one? Was it an act of sacrifice, or an act of profound self-realization? There is no simple answer. The two are inextricably intertwined. The discipline that crushed the girl's spontaneity also gave the woman her strength. The rules that imprisoned her also gave her a world and a purpose. The mask she was forced to wear also became her shield and her greatest work of art. You think of a concept from Zen philosophy that you learned during your tea ceremony lessons, Mushin or Mo mind. It's a state where the ego and rational thought are cleared away, allowing for pure, intuitive action. A master swordsman in the heat of a duel acts from Mushin. An artist, in a moment of creative flow, is in mush in a moment of creative flow. Perhaps that is the answer. Perhaps, after all these years, the girl and the geisha have merged. There is no longer a duality, no longer a separation between the performer and the self. There is only you, a being who moves, speaks, and thinks with the ingrained, intuitive grace of a lifetime of art. The training is so deep it is no longer training, it is simply who you are. The mask has become the face. You pick up the soft powder brush. It feels comfortable and familiar in your hand, an extension of your own body. You are not putting on a disguise, you are simply completing the ritual that has defined your entire existence. The face in the mirror is not a stranger. It is you, a woman forged in a crucible of pain and beauty, a living repository of a fragile and ancient tradition. You are the art and the artist, the flower and the willow. You are a geisha, and as you begin to paint the first layer of white onto your skin, you feel a sense of peace. The journey has been long, the price has been high, but you have arrived. The last guest has departed from the tea house, his laughter still a faint echo in the quiet, moonlit street. The paper lanterns of the hanamoki cast a warm, soft glow, blurring the sharp edges of the world. You walk slowly, the gentle click of your zori on the stone path, the quiet rhythm in the sleeping city. The air is cool on your skin, carrying the scent of damp earth and late blooming jasmine from a hidden garden. There is no need to hurry. You slide open the door to your small home. Inside, everything is still. The world of bells and silk, of witty conversation and the sharp notes of the shamesen fades away, leaving only a profound and welcome silence. You move through the familiar shadows of your room, your movements slow, unthinking, imbued with a grace that is no longer a performance, but the very essence of your being. As you begin the patient ritual of removing your makeup, wiping away the white mask layer by layer, it feels less like a removal and more like a gentle return. A return to the quiet center of yourself. The face that emerges is not a lesser version, but a different one, softer and more vulnerable in the dim light. It is a face known only to you and to the moon. You are floating now, untethered from the demands of the day. The weight of the wig, the memory of the kimono, the ache in your bones from years of discipline, it all dissolves into a gentle, flowing current. You are drifting on a quiet river, the banks lined with weeping willows, their branches trailing in the dark, cool water. The river carries you onward, away from the world of light and sound, into the deeper, slower currents of the night. Each ripple is a memory, each memory a soft, polished stone at the bottom of the riverbed. The pain has been worn smooth by time, leaving only its shape, its weight, its quiet truth. You feel the gentle pull of sleep, a soft tide drawing you out into a vast, peaceful ocean of darkness. You are not falling asleep. You are simply letting go, allowing the river to carry you home. The end of the article. Good night.